For these students, school is now in a monastery, and home is a temporary shelter in a camp for the internally displaced. They had to leave their village when fighting between the Myanmar military and the Arakan Army, an ethnic armed group that erupted in January last year, got too close.
There was an airstrike. They fired onto our village. Our homes were burned. Artillery shells hit our houses.
Many have been here for at least 7 months and escaped with little more than the clothes on their backs.
Soldiers entered our village and we did not want to run into them, so we ran away. We were scared.
They haven't been able to return to their farms, their shops, and are dependent on aid.
The UN says there are near-daily reports of civilians being killed or injured, and child casualties are on the rise. Last month, more than a dozen students were injured when an artillery shell hit their school.
Landmines also pose a threat, according to a recent Landmine Monitor report by the International Campaign to Ban Landmines. The government says it's doing all it can to protect civilians.
We don't know where the fighting is going to happen. We won't know ahead of the fighting. We're trying to do as much as we can. We give support to the people, they get compensation from the federal government, and the injured are treated for free at our hospitals.
The Arakan Army says it's fighting for greater autonomy on behalf of the Rakhine, a mainly Buddhist ethnic group who make up the majority here. The state is one of the poorest in Myanmar, and there's growing resentment towards the government.
We win landslides in the Rakhine area, but we cannot enjoy power sharing, resource sharing. Most intellectuals are not satisfied with this condition. But for the youth, they became radicalized.
The conflict has disrupted aid services. The UN Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs says transportation routes used to distribute food have been affected, and many aid organizations have reported greater difficulties in reaching more rural areas. An internet shutdown has made it more difficult to get information on civilian casualties and living conditions in the camps. Rakhine State is also where the Myanmar military launched a violent crackdown against the mainly Muslim Rohingya minority more than 2 years ago. Myanmar, which denies committing genocide, has been ordered by the International Court of Justice to prevent further killings of the Rohingya. But as the conflict continues, civilians, whether Rakhine or Rohingya, are being caught in the middle. Florence, Looi, Al Jazeera, Buthidaung Township, Rakhine State, Myanmar.